Dr. Bach, in English history, the 1650s is a very special period. It is when the England was ruled without a monarch for the first time in history. So I wonder, how do you view this period against the backdrop of the European history?
Well, compared with the rest of Europe, it's extremely advanced, or at least compared with France and Spain. I mean, you do have in Holland a republican government which is broken free of Spain and which is a trading rival of England at this period, and in fact goes to war with England in the early 1650s. But I think one of the things that strikes me most about the 1650s is how, although there had been a revolution, there was also a great deal of concern that revolution could go too far. During the Civil War, there'd been a group called the Levellers, and there were many other groups quite similar to the Levellers, like the Diggers. The Levellers had come up with ideas which were very advanced. There's an occasion when there are debates in Putney near London, and in these debates, which take place from people within the army, you have these leveller ideas put forward. And if I can just read you one of the speeches by a Colonel Thomas Rainsborough, he says, "The poorest he that is in England has a life to live as the greatest he." And this is a very democratic statement.
Yes.
And therefore, truly, sir, I think it's clear that every man that is to live under a government ought first, by his own consent, to put himself under the government. And I don't think the poorest man in England is at any way bound to a government he's not had a voice to put himself under. So in other words, it's a bid for a very modern view, Western view of democracy, that not in any way based on how much money or property you have, you ought to have a say in government, and you have no obligation to obey the government unless you do have that democratic right. Now, these leveller ideas were viewed with great suspicion by many people on the parliamentary side of the argument. And I think when you get into the 1650s, that's one of the things that is most striking, the fear on the part of those who have property of a very advanced form of democracy. And one of the difficulties in the 1650s is that those who did not agree with the king's rule of the church fall basically into two categories. One, the Presbyterians, who believe that there should be some sort of national organization of the church, so that there is a central control. And then the others who believe that each independent church, as long as it's Protestant and not Catholic, each independent church should be self-governing. And Cromwell himself sympathized with the independence, but at the same time was sympathetic to the importance of defending property. And this causes a tremendous amount of friction in the 1650s. And I think at the end of the day, the levellers are crushed, and the similar groups are crushed by those who want to defend property. And that makes the 1650s rather more conservative than it might otherwise have been.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much.